Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to share some proposed adjustments to the district's return to school plan that would go into effect in just 2 weeks, starting in the week of November 30th. As a reminder, the vision for our return to school process has been to safely return all students and staff members to the Warren Township schools. We are extremely proud of our progress in doing so, as we've continually increased time in our school facilities without a single case of in-school transmission of COVID-19. The guiding principles that led our work all summer long and have continued to lead our work throughout the fall are that we will prioritize the health and safety of students and staff members, that we will follow NJDOE guidance to encourage physical distancing, discourage student cohort mixing, encourage and improve hygiene practices, and take into consideration the impact of all of these decisions on the mental health and wellness of our students, our staff, and the wider school community. And that while we rely on the most up-to-date scientific data and professional recommendations available, we also try to provide flexibility and predictability to families and staff members to the greatest extent practicable. As always, our plans require us to respond to updated guidance from various entities and will be adjusted to follow the directives of local and state health officials and the New Jersey Department of Education. The New Jersey Department of Education guidelines also say that we must follow CDC guidelines. As I'm sure we're all paying attention to, Governor Murphy has begun rolling back some reopening plans across the state. Those have not affected schools at this point, but obviously any adjustments to school guidance would have an impact on the Warren Township schools and the proposals in tonight's presentation. The return under Hybrid 1.0 back on September 8th prioritized in-person learning to the greatest extent practicable. We were very proud and continue to be very proud to have our students attending in-school learning more than any others in Somerset County. Hybrid 1.1 planning prioritized the increase of in-person learning time for our youngest learners, and back on October 19th, we brought our K1 and 2 students back 5 days per week. The adjustments proposed this evening continue our efforts to prioritize additional in-person learning for the most vulnerable students, those students who struggle the most with at-home, technology-based learning. We want to bring as many of them back as we can where the conditions allow us to do so. First, preschool. In the district's preschool program, there are 17 general education tuition-paying students who attend half-day sessions, an additional 8 special education students who qualify for full-day sessions, but are currently only attending half-day in school facilities and half-day distance. Our proposal is to offer all 8 of those families the option to attend full-day preschool as their program generally calls for in our school facilities. This would shift our preschool program completely to the full traditional preschool schedule effective on Monday, November 30th, 2020. The considerations that went into making this recommendation that allow us to make this recommendation are that there is very minimal cross-cohorting. There are a few cases where students will wind up in classrooms with different students in the morning and the afternoon. All parents of students affected, the students who would be the ones in both sessions and the students who would be receiving, have been notified and have been given the opportunity to share their concerns. We have not received any. Our full-day students will have the opportunity to eat lunch and rest in a separate space in a classroom that is not being used for other instruction. This is significant because it allows us to test out procedures with a very small number of students about lunch in school. Our transportation services for preschool are done in-house, and we can accommodate this change. Our buildings and grounds custodial staff can accommodate the additional cleaning required for the lunch and the additional students. And this requires no additional changes to our staffing. With all of this in mind, this recommendation gained the support of the administrative team, led by Derek Ressa, our Director of Special Services, Jess DeSille, our Interim Supervisor of Special Education, Scott Cook, the Principal of Mount Horeb School, Shannon Sharkey, the Special Education Supervisor, and all of our staff at Mount Horeb, who was really wonderful in helping think through the possibilities here for preschool. Second, we have what we are calling Hybrid 1.2. I'll talk more about what that will look like in the long term in just a minute. But for right now, this meeting, we're focusing on our Priority 1 students, which are students who are currently attending in a hybrid, but who we think should be moved to full-time in school as soon as we can. These are self-contained special education students in grades 3, 4, and 5. That is students who attend math and English language arts outside of the general education classroom. We've prioritized those students as the next group in highest need of additional in-school time in these grades 3, 4, and 5. As we know, the highest needs programs, our autism program, for example, have already been 5 days per week in school since we reopened back in September. So the proposal here is that we offer qualified students, the 27 mentioned there, the opportunity to attend 5 days per week in cohort C effective November 30th, 2020. By focusing on this group of students, we will not need to do any cross-cohorting as they are in self-contained settings where the students stay with their cohort. Transportation can accommodate the change due to the relatively limited numbers spread across the district. Buildings and grounds can accommodate the additional cleaning as needed, and this requires no additional changes to staffing. So what's next? Our return to school committees are currently analyzing the possibility of additional returns to cohort C, specifically all grade 3 students, like we did for K1 and 2, and additional vulnerable student populations, such as middle school self-contained special education students and English language learners. Our goal would be to come up with a proposal to return those populations to 5 day per week instruction as soon as we can. But the timing of this proposal will be determined not only by our internal logistics and our analysis, but by the evolving public health condition. Parents of preschool and students in the impacted special education classes will be contacted this week for next steps that apply to them. We will also be surveying our grade 3 parents this week about their preferences related to returning to school 5 days per week. And we will be asking all K5 parents to consider waiving their transportation so that we can free up more transportation space so that more students can come back to school 5 days per week. We know that under our current guidelines of one family per bench on a bus, we will not have enough space for all grade 3 students. So we're hoping that we can get some cooperation from the community, people who have seats but maybe don't use them or don't need them, which will allow us to accommodate more students coming back to school more regularly. Thank you to our entire administrative team and all the staff who helped with the analysis that led us to the recommendations for preschool and the priority 1 students in hybrid 1.2 that are on the agenda tonight for approval so that we can bring them back starting on November 30th. Thank you.